The Ukrainian president has warned a deal to end the war in the east is in great danger after heavy fighting ahead of Saturday night's ceasefire. Petro Poroshenko also accused Russia of significantly increasing its offensive in spite of the peace agreement reached in Minsk on Thursday. Meanwhile, the US said it was very concerned by reports of heavy weapons coming across the border from Russia. More than a dozen civilians are said to have died in shelling on Friday. It is unclear who was behind the shelling, but both the Ukrainian military and pro-Russian rebels in the eastern Donetsk and Luhansk regions accuse each other of targeting residential areas. Escalation expected. With less than 24 hours until the ceasefire is due to take effect, correspondents say the fighting shows no sign of stopping. The fiercest battles have been around Debaltsev, a strategic town in between rebel-held areas. Ukrainian Deputy Defense Minister Petro Poroshenko said the rebels wanted to raise their flag over Debaltsev and the key port city of Mariupol before the midnight ceasefire, 2200 hours o'clock GMT, ceasefire kicked in. Ukraine is expecting an escalation and taking all necessary measures to be able to respond, Mr. Meek told reporters. Rebel shelling killed 2 people in a cafe in Chastya, near Luhansk, on Friday, as well as a young child near a school in Artemivsk, a town near Debaltsev, according to Kiev-controlled regional authorities. Meanwhile, the rebels said at least 6 people had died in shelling in the city of Donetsk and town of Horlivka. The rebels accuse government forces of shelling the towns. After what we achieved in Minsk, this is not just shelling of Ukrainian civilians and residential neighborhoods, this is an attack on our Minsk achievements, without any explanations, President Poroshenko said. Unfortunately, after Minsk, Russia's offensive operations have intensified, he said, before adding, we are still convinced that the Minsk achievements are in a big danger. There were also reports of a government offensive near Mariupol, the city between rebel-held eastern areas and the southern Crimea Peninsula, which was annexed by Russia last March. Serious live fire. The new clashes have fueled fears that the peace deal agreed in the Belarusian capital could fall through before the ceasefire starts. The group responsible for monitoring the ceasefire said it remained hopeful despite there being quite serious live fire in several areas on Friday. We feel that the Minsk agreements are really the only available roadmap to a sustainable ceasefire, Michael Bosierki, spokesman for the OSCE, told the BBC. Pro-Russian rebels signed the peace agreement, but key issues remain to be settled, including the situation in Debaltsev. European leaders have warned Russia that it could face additional sanctions if the agreement is not respected. German Chancellor Angela Merkel said the deal offered a glimmer of hope, but warned, it is very important that words are followed by actions. Ukraine and the West accuse Russia of supplying weapons and personnel to the rebels, but Russia denies this. Officials say more than 5,400 people have been killed since the conflict began, but the UN believes the actual death toll to be much higher. There has been a dramatic rise in casualties in recent days, with 263 civilians killed in populated areas between January 31 and February 5.